Decide what you want. Make a decision. What do you want? 100 grand, my first 100 grand, right? Then commit to it. Take massive, massive, massive action. It does not have to be perfect. You don't have to get the first offer accepted. Just take action.
Hello, everyone. This is Jack Bosch speaking with the new podcast, The Jack Bosch Show. Yes, you heard that right. We simply gave it my name because here's the thing. I want to go take this podcast into many different directions, talk about with cool people about cool stuff, particularly around the subject of real estate and finance. Our guest today is Justin Colby. Justin actually was supposed to come here to the office, or so we thought, because up until a little bit ago, we know each other for many years. He lived right here in town in Scottsdale, Arizona. So we were waiting here in our studio, and then he calls us. It's like, dude, I moved to Florida. So now we patched him in from Florida. How the heck are you, Justin?
Brother, I'm great. I'm happy to be here via Zoom. But yeah, this was a whirlwind of a scenario, right? Your team's like, we're changing times, your schedule, my schedule again. And so very happy that we got this all settled, because the reality is your team, Patrick, man, he helped out a lot. And I'm literally 3,500 miles away from you right now. So
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Glad to make it happen.
Crazy. It's like, obviously giving him the address did not work. It did not help us here. So, but anyway, glad that's what we do. We're flexible. So we're now on Zoom, and yeah. So first of all, you are a real estate investor. You're an educator. You're a coach. You do not just what everyone else does is wholesaling. I can't wait to jump into that, how you're really flexible on all kinds of different ways of real estate. Really love that about you. So give us a little bit of an update. Just tell us who is Justin. Give us a little bit of an introduction.
If no one knows me, that's all good. Like I say, a lot of times I'm not Tony Robbins. Not everyone's supposed to know me. So I'll give you a little background. I'm 41 years old. I got into real estate 15 years ago. If anyone remembers the economic world 15 years ago, it was not ideal. It was 2007. I, like so many others, lost it all. I lost my home to foreclosure. I was sleeping on my friend's couch, and the repo man took my car. So if I can get to where I'm at in life after going through something like that, I know everyone listening here, wherever you're at in life, you have so much further you can go, right? So got into real estate when I was broke, busted, and disgusted, I like to say. And I had no money, no credit, and I started flipping homes. That's right. This is why I kind of get frustrated with everyone just wanting to wholesale, is because when I had no money and I had no credit, I actually was starting to flip homes. And that happened in 2007. It took me 9 months to get my first deal in Phoenix, Arizona. And 15 years later, without all the gory details, I've done roughly 2,200 deals in total. The vast majority of those would be wholesale. I've done roughly 600 something rehab flips. I'm actively currently still buying rental properties, all virtually, all across the nation. I'm burring them, right? Buying it, rehabbing it, renting it, and refinancing it all across the nation. I'm actively actually supposed to close roughly in about 45 days on my first self-storage facility, which I'm very excited about. And I teach people how to be a dynamic real estate investor. It's not just about being a one-trick pony. And so pretty passionate about that. I think we all are limited by what we think or know, even though sometimes your knowledge is limited by what you have heard. Right. And the reality is you do not need money or credit to flip homes or to buy rentals. And so if I can impress, or buy land in your case, right? I mean, you just don't.
Right, absolutely.
So
good. So there's a lot to unpack here. There are lots of directions we can go here. But before we go into all of that, let's go really earlier than that. So did you have a real estate background? Did you always know you're going to get into real estate? Is that something, or did you stumble into that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this or listening to this. They're like, well, great. He has done 2,200 deals. I haven't done anything. I'm an engineer. I'm a truck driver. I'm a nurse. How do I get started where he is right now?
Great question. And so, I went to UCLA. And for those that are prideful of their education, I am not. I have a diploma. I've never used it ever. And that's a prominent place. UCLA is very prominent in that space. I've always been an entrepreneur. I graduated. I had a conversation with my friend. He said, "Hey, do you want to get into real estate?" I said, "Absolutely. That sounds great. That sounds fun." So we went essentially, he needed some time to understand it. His father was a developer. So we were going to start a brokerage together. And he said, "Hey, why don't you do something for about a year or something? And then we'll come back together and start a brokerage." So I went directly into sales, door-to-door sales, what I argue the most necessary job you could possibly have because you need to understand sales. Created a company out of that. So I've been forever an entrepreneur.
What did you sell?
Credit card services, UPS, Verizon, AT&T, maybe one or two more clients, but big.
Wow.
It was B2B, right? So it was services that businesses use.
Okay, so not to go into neighborhoods and knocking at front doors of residential properties, but no, go to offices and pitch them.
That's right. Right. Better internet, better credit card processing, better shipping, utility, that kind of stuff. So I created my own company. So kind of my claim to fame is I've never had a W-2 job, but I have this really expensive, reputable degree that has quite literally done nothing for me, but allowed me to tell this story a lot. Right.
Right.
And so a year later, year and a half later, I catch pneumonia because I end up living in Boston, Massachusetts. I catch pneumonia because it's winter in Boston and I'm from California, and door-to-door sales is tough. So I say that to say then he calls right at the right time. He says, "Hey, you want to start this real estate brokerage?" I say, "Absolutely." I go get I take the test, pass the test. We start going. Well, back in 2000, I think that was 2006, we were literally selling his dad's new homes. So if anyone was old enough to be in the real estate space listening to this, you know that I literally was an order taker. I would come into the model building. They would give me roughly 10 to 20 offers every day. I would choose the highest one. And that was it. I had no sales skills in the real estate space. I didn't know how to nurture my clients. I didn't know how to go get clients. They all came to me. I didn't know how to canvas. I built zero skills with that, but I made good money. So I bought
back in 2006. You didn't need any skills. Like they were lining up for that stuff. Yeah,
kind of like the last 6 years, but I'll get there. So they were lining up. So the market crashes. I'm a victim because I don't have anything to lean back on. And as an educator, Jack, like it is so imperative to be educated so you can lean back on something. I literally was just like an order taker. That's what I called myself, a freaking order taker. And so I had nothing to lean back on, but I did see something, or maybe I heard it on the radio, I believe. Or no, I saw a YouTube. If you remember, what was his name? Chris and Leopard Boy or whatever.
Chris McLaughlin and
yes.
Leopard Boy,
Nate
yes,
Jerwitz. Yes. So I saw they did something on YouTube. I saw it because I'm literally broke on a computer. And I'm like, dude, I want to flip homes. That is where I want to learn. I don't want to be a realtor. Like I didn't ever want to do that. Right. Like I was trying to hustle. I was trying to drive clientele and show them around and all. And I'm like, this is awful. This is awful. How can anyone do this? So I saw it and I said, I'm in. Lo and behold, I go to one of those seminars and I call my buddy to borrow $25,000 for coaching. And he gives it to me. He trusts me. He knows that I can do it. And I invested $25,000 in coaching because, Jack, as we all know, it's not about having the resources. It's about being resourceful.
Absolutely.
And I'm resourceful as anybody. And so if you're out there and you're like, well, I don't have money, get resourceful. It'll change your life. And it's changed my life. It's changed my complete trajectory of where I would be, right?
Beautiful example, and also a beautiful example of adjusting. And by the way, Chris McLaughlin, he now runs a very, very successful brokerage.
Massive.
And massive, like huge brokerage. And Nathan has exited the business. He had some mental health problems and moved into a different space as far as I know. But during that time period, those two teamed up and they created a really good program on short sales, something that actually could become really interesting very soon, again, depending on how far the house market slides.
I should call Chris. He and I became friends through Cody Sperber. And so he will fly out to Florida and he'll text me. He's like, hey, I'm on the PJ. You around? And I'm like, no, I'm not around. But, who knows? Maybe there's another short sale product to be put out there. Anyways, great
Not
dude.
something I'll ever get into. I'm happy with land, but hey, there's a place for everything at the right time for anything. Yes.
What I respect about you is you stick to your vertical, and it's a great vertical, right? Anyways, we can get there.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, I would jump around too if I wouldn't have something at my hands that works no matter what the economy does. Like right now, house prices are sliding, but land is as strong as it has ever been, particularly the kind of land that we focus on. But that's not the subject of it, just driven by different market forces right now. With the virtualization of the world, more and more people can live where they want. And a lot of people want to live in a little bit more outside of town where a lot of the land is that we focus on. So we haven't seen any breakdown, any slowdown in land whatsoever. So we have no reason to go adjust to anything. This business worked through 2007, 8, 9, right? It works right now. So the reason you see a lot of like coaches, educators, gurus switch from one thing to the other is because it's not even a negative thing. It's because certain things stop working in certain markets. 2008 to 2013 was a fantastic time for short sales. Well, after 13 or 14 or whatever the time was, short sales start drying up and there was nothing to short sell anymore. The banks had gotten rid of all their inventory. Prices started leveling up again and coming back up again. So people were not in distress anymore. So that method didn't work anymore. It didn't work as well anymore. It always works to some degree. There's always some people in distress. But again, for us, that's not the case. So for 20 plus years, we just stick to one thing because, hey, why have to reinvent the wheel if what you do continues working?
Yeah, you could even make the argument about the hedge funds, right? There was a lot of people that as wholesalers, they would only wholesale straight to the hedge funds and they made a boatload of money. Well, then the hedge funds stopped buying, but what's their business built off of? Selling to the hedge funds. So I know a lot of people right now that financially are like trying to restructure their entire business because of exactly what you're saying, where there's that it's hot for the season and then the season ends and, oh my God, I need to pivot. I need to figure something out. And that's the course of business for the most part. In your vertical, they don't have those swings, which is brilliant, which is amazing. And so,
well, you got into short sales, I assume.
I did not. It's funny is I ended up getting, I started reaching out to realtors, and basically the realtors would be providing me deals that were essentially going like in between a short sale and being actually foreclosed on. And they would have negotiated enough with whoever was able to make the decision on this, that there was like this window that the bank would say, hey, if we can still receive an offer of this, we'll take it. So the realtor would reach out to me and say, hey, dude, they'll take this number. And essentially what we would do back in those days is transactionally fund, right? So I'd actually go and get transactional funding, fund the deal, and then essentially resell it through a realtor. And so that's how I cut my teeth, right? Is I started cold calling realtors. Ironically, one of the best verticals for us right now is cold calling realtors. I restarted this about 2 years ago. I thought there was no deals on the MLS. I thought it was just a dead marketplace, etc. It is not a dead marketplace. You might not be able to find as much volume on the MLS as you can if you do off-market marketing. But who wants to turn down, 5 deals, 6 deals a month just from a free vertical, right? Free, totally free, no marketing needed. So anyways, now call it almost a year and a half, 2 years, my team is back to doing what got me my first deal, second deal, third deal, etc.
All right, that's beautiful. Yeah, no, I second that. Actually, matter of fact, there we interviewed not too long ago John Burley, who is a legend in the industry, and he's right now he's basically making offers on the MLS. He's working with realtors and basically gets to the bottom line of what the buyers are willing to take. And sometimes there's houses on the MLS for $430,000, and he ends up buying them for $280,000. Because they're just not moving right now in this market. That's right. And just because they're asking for 30 on the MLS doesn't mean that that's the price. So if you can work with some realtors, if you can make some offers and work the MLS, you can get some really good deals. And at that level, rentals make sense again.
Of course.
So in his model, as he explained, and if you're watching this podcast, make sure you look for the other one with John Burley. And in his particular model, his model is in essence a Burr model, just that he works with investors. So he teaches people how to get investors to bring up the cash to buy those properties, and then they're splitting the deal in certain ways. But similar, different strategy, but similar kind of approach. Go to the open market right now. There's deals out there.
100% there is. And that's, it's funny. All the newbies that come to me, they're always worried about a marketing budget. And I'm always like, you don't need one, right? There's just a strategy that you need to understand. So anyways, through all that, right? Lose my house, lose my car, roommate took my car. I invest the $25,000 that my friend gave me into coaching, and really the rest is history. I mean, there's a lot to it that we don't have time to go over, but the best thing I could have done was bet on myself. And that's what I did. Right. And I knew I could win. And, years later, I've come up with this, kind of 5 steps and 5 success pillars, and the big CIA, and I'll kind of review them quickly for your audience now. CIA, of them, everyone knows of them. But I'm not talking about the CIA agency, the government agency. I'm talking about commitment, intention, and action. And I speak from stage, and I always talk about this because if you have commitment and you put intention behind the commitment, your action will follow suit, right? It'll follow the intention that you're pushing towards, because intention is your energy. So you need to have all 3 of those. Unwavering, must have all 3. But the 5 success pillars that I've come up with, looking back at my success, and then obviously surrounding myself with people like yourself and so many others, and you and I were just with Grant for a great amount of time. There's always the 5 main pillars that I've kind of termed in my own way. First, decide what you want, make that clear. Because at some point you're going to have to commit to what you want, right? And that's where everything breaks. That's where people give up. That's where they quit. That's where they're done, is the commitment level. Because the third part is taking action, massive action, right? Like, just go. Don't be perfect. Just go. Your fourth is going to be being extremely uncomfortable. Remember, if I were to go into Jack's lane and get into land, which I've never done, I'm going to be extremely uncomfortable because I've never done it. I'm been in real estate for years, and for the most part, I probably would catch on very quick, but it's going to be uncomfortable for me initially because it is something I've just never done. So be ready to be extremely uncomfortable. The last one's really important. Really, really hear me on this for all you listeners. Remove your time expectation of the results. And why I really emphasize that is because if many people talk about improper expectations, right? Proper expectations, improper expectations. But what I've layered in on that, and why I see people not make it in any vertical, land, real estate, etc., is because they put some result time expectation on it. In my world, I'm going to get my first deal in 30 days, right? And it breaks people's soul when it doesn't happen. It's defeating. But if I am to reframe that phrase and say, I'm going to get my first deal, I didn't say 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year. I'm going to get my first deal. I've publicly been saying something that to me, all my life just sounded ludicrous. And even when I say it, like right now, it does still sound ludicrous. But I know through real estate, I'm going to become a billionaire. I know it. I never said when. I'm 41 years old. I'm not going to put that on myself because, by the way, if I don't, but that's where my commitment, that's where my intention, that's where my actions are driving towards. Do I end up at 750 million? 500 million? I mean, come on. Like, even if I don't hit the big B, my commitment and intention and action through real estate will get me there, right? So those 5 pillars are really important. Go ahead.
No, I love that. Particularly also on the removing the timeline I think that's a crucial one that, because if you if you think about it, when people go and get a job, they don't say, I'm going to be CEO in 5 years from now.
Right.
Right? They're going to say, oh, I got to work here right now. And then I'm hoping at some day I'm going to get a promotion. And then perhaps I get another promotion. And then I get another promotion. But they don't put a timeline on that either. They don't say, if I'm not at director level in 3 years, I'm going to go quit. Very few people do that. But we do that in real estate. We say, if I don't have a deal by that day, I'm a failure and so on. The second thing is, so I like that. The other thing is that Warren Buffett talks about that the most you can do in baseball is hit 10 out of, is if you hit a grand slam, the most you can get is 4 points, right?
Right.
That's right. I'm not a baseball guy. I'm from Germany, right? So the most you can get, the bases are loaded. There's 3 bases. You're in the home base. So that's 4 points. The most you can get so the absolute biggest success you can have in baseball is 4 points at once.
That's right.
However, in business, if you learn the skill of business, the skill of real estate, meaning how to do a deal, whether it takes you 30 days, 90 days, or 3 years to get that first deal, you now learned a skill that one home run can make you $1 million. One home run can make you $10 million. One home run can make you $100,000, whatever it is, depending on what size property you go. One of our coaches is working on a land deal that might make her $8 million in one deal. So the ceiling is taken off in the business, yet we put a timeline on it. And as if we're saying, like, if it doesn't work until then, I give it up and I go back to the part where there's a complete ceiling on there. No, take the time. I love that. Take the timeline off, because even if it takes you 3 years to learn that first deal, which usually doesn't take that long, of course, right? Even if it takes you 9 months to get that first deal, after that, another 6 months to get the second month. After that, even if it takes you 3 years to master this business, within less time than it takes your college degree, you now got a business career that makes you 10x what any college job would make.
You got it dead on. I just see it all the time. I'm sure you do as an educator, and you just you get frustrated because you're just like, God, if you wouldn't have put the time expectation on your first deal or your first million or your first $100,000 or whatever it is, and you would have just said, I'm going to go make $100,000. I'm going to go make my first $1 million. Then you would just put your head down and you would go until you make your $1 million, because there's no improper time expectation there. Right. And so that's why, I've gotten comfortable. And listen, you and I have both been around Grant recently. And obviously the word billionaire has not been something I've ever been used to saying. But I got to be honest, if he's able to do it, I know I'm able to do it. I have a head start on him in time. I've been doing it longer. I understand the vertical that is going to get me there. All right. It takes me 20, Absolutely. 30 years. I don't care. And by the way, again, so what if I don't hit it? I mean, how close do you got to get to be just like ridiculously wealthy, right? Like, so.
and here's the thing. I mean, for people watching this, is like, if that sounds like it goes over your head because you haven't even considered that, just consider thinking from a point of view of, in order to live the lifestyle that the wealthy live, like the super wealthy live, you don't have to actually be a billionaire. Like, the goal of becoming a billionaire, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin here, but the goal of becoming a billionaire is not in itself something that is like crucial to your lifestyle. No. Like, I don't have to become a billionaire in order to have a yacht, right? I don't have to be a billionaire in order to have my own plane. You can accomplish those things at way lower levels if that's what you want to accomplish. And it's more, it becomes a marker.
That's all it is a goalpost, 100% at the end of the day. That's all it is, right? And so for many of you, and I know, Jack, you have people who are just trying to figure out how do I get out of my job, right? Like, you just got, guys, my billion could be your $100,000. Put the marker out there, because there's no way to commit to something if you don't, again, decide what you want. That's why the 5 pillars are always the same. You need to decide.
It's CIA, it's commitment, it's
intention, action.
Intention and action, and then the other 2 are?
Well, there's two different ones. So CIA is just a saying, right? That I can just kind of get people's head around. But the 5 pillars, the real 5, and I'll say it again: decide what you want, make a decision. What do you want? 100 grand, my first 100 grand, right? Then commit to it.
All right.
Take massive, massive, massive action. Imperfect action. It does not have to be perfect. You don't have to get the first offer accepted. Just take action. Number 4 is be really uncomfortable. And that's easy to do, because if you're shooting for a goal that you've never achieved, then you're outside of your comfort zone. So you're going to be uncomfortable. And then 5, remove the time expectation on the result.
Love it. Now, here, let's go quickly back to 2008, 8. You lost everything. You wake up one morning and say like, hey, these are the 5 things I need to do? Or did you go into a deep hole, and how did you get yourself out of that big hole? If they foreclose on your house and they impound your car, that must have been not the most pleasant time in your life, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. It wasn't exciting. I'll tell you that. Now, here's the blessing I had given to me. I was young, right? I believe I was 25 years old, no kids, no wife, no real responsibility, right? Like literally I called my friend and I said, hey, can I come sleep on your couch? I just lost my home. Right. So there's a blessing in that, right? Because it was still just me. And so,
are you married now? Do you have kids?
I am married with a 2-year-old.
All right.
Probably going to have our second child here. We'll start attempting for it, which is the fun part. Probably here in the summer. So,
all right, wonderful.
Yeah. So
you have a boy or a girl, the 2-year-old?
Girl. I'm a girl dad.
Right.
And
I'm a girl dad. Same here.
Yeah, girl dad. I would like another girl, if I'm being honest. They are just so
girls
sweet,
are awesome,
and kind and funny. Anyways, and all my friends have boys. It's so funny. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but at that age, you still pretty feel invincible, I would say. But another good thing, listen, I did a development deal out in Mesa, Arizona, that I lost 7 figures. Wow. Now that hole was a darker hole. That hole almost broke up my business partnership. We owed a lot of money. It was bad. So how do you come back from that? Right? Because there's a lot of similarities there. I didn't lose my home in that.
How do you come back from that? Because somebody might be listening here and they're 57 and perhaps they just lost a bunch of money or in that hole. How do you come back from that? Yeah.
The first thing is you need to put some perspective on it. Whatever that hole is. So for me, it was a very major 7-figure loss. And I had my mentor come into town. And he looked at me and he said, so what? What do you mean, so what? That's almost multiple 7 figures. Like, what do you mean? He was like, I still love you. Your friends still love you. Your family still loves you. You're the only one beating yourself up about it. So you get to make a decision. You can let that be your story. You can let that be the thing that defines you. And everyone will talk about Justin, who lost it all financially. And now he's an alcoholic sleeping on the street and he couldn't overcome it. That can be your story and let that define you. Or you can take a day or 2, maybe a week, and lick your wounds and get up. And this is a saying that I've heard a lot of places, a lot of times. And I don't know if my mentor at the time said this to me, but essentially the belief system has to be, you can never beat a man that keeps getting up.
That's right. Yeah. And you can never lose if you never stop.
So if you just think about that, you can never beat a man or woman if they keep getting up. And that's what I said. And think about that. At the time, I've been in the real estate space for 10 years, done very well, made a lot of money, and lost it. Right? I mean, essentially just poof, by one dumb decision to be a developer, which I had no right making that decision. But you get confident and arrogant, and there you have it. So I say that to speak to anyone out there that may be going through a tough time or challenged with their circumstances. You have to look in the mirror and make sure you understand it is your choice that you get to choose. This defines you, and it will be forever your story that you tell yourself and others will tell about you. or you get to choose the other option, the red pill, blue pill thing. I'm going to get myself out of this and make something of myself, right? Whatever that may be, right? Whatever that is at the time. For me at that moment, I was not saying, oh, I'm going to go be a billionaire. That was not what I was telling myself. But what I was telling myself is I'm going to get back on my feet and I'm going to go start making money now, today, fast, go, right? And that's really where wholesaling came in, because I was such a heavy fix and flipper at the time. Wholesaling transactionally was so much more fast that you could start collecting those checks. And so that starts to build confidence. And from confidence, you start to do it. But I'll tell you, all you listeners, you need to stay listening to Jack. Your info diet is everything.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
is the thing. And then confidence comes from this, comes from
100%
from experience, but you can also borrow confidence from listening to others and see their success stories. Now, you know, Justin's success story, and you know, like, hey, if he can lose it, and this is the attitude he took, when something happens to you, you can take that same attitude. I'm in a blessed position that we haven't lost big chunks of money yet. That's why I wanted to dig into your story, because if that happens to you, it happened to many people during that time.
Of course.
And you can learn from their experiences so that if something happens to you, you know how to respond.
Yeah. And I hope people don't have to go through it, right? Like the whole point of your info diet, listen to people like Jack, listen to someone like myself, listen to people who have been there and done that have the experience, that have a path, that have history, right? Because your self-talk will predicate whether you win or lose. Right. You will talk yourself out of something. You will talk yourself into something. It is all self-talk. And so one thing that I spent a bit of time with John Gordon. He's the author of the Energy Bus. Great book if you guys want a great book to read. But he just taught me something that changed his life that I'll impress upon you. He was a very negative person. His wife was about to leave him for the second time. He couldn't figure out how to turn his life into a positive life. And so he said, I'm just going to go start taking walks. And those walks turned into what he called gratitude walks. And he said he'd walk around the block for 15 to 30 minutes and quite literally just start listing out everything he's grateful for. And he went from basically a broken marriage done to now being an author of 26 different books. Wow. Nationally known as one of the most positive speakers. He goes in and speaks to sports teams to help them win championships, from Clemson in college football to the Rams of the Super Bowl to you name it. He's the guy that they bring in to get these people across that finish line. He just literally changed an entire life. And his story is incredible, by these gratitude walks. He literally is like, this is what did it for me. Now, there's a lot more after that, but that is what spun him the 90 degrees that he needed. So I've started to adopt it. In the morning, I walk my dog and I'm like, I am grateful for a ton of stuff, right? And it gets granular. Like, I'm grateful for the fact that my legs work, that I have shoes to walk on the concrete versus being barefoot. Like, just get grateful for all these little things. And it puts a ton of perspective back to when I lost the money and my mentor comes into town and says, so what? Right? It's perspective, right? Money is money. For people who know how to make it, you can make it again. You really can. The challenge being is when people get punched in the face that hard, they quit. And more often than not, they quit because they don't have the self-talk to get themselves back up, because their fear of criticism, their fear of judgment. See, I told you couldn't do it. See, I knew you were dumb. See, I knew, So they'd rather just stay down and be done. Right? We're not talking too much of real estate. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
You start asking me some questions.
There's real estate information everywhere. But as a matter of fact, let's actually do that right now. Let's fast forward to today. What do you do today? And then also, since you teach real estate, what do you teach your students today that is the most applicable, best working strategies right now?
Yeah, I love it. So my business is now 100% virtual because of COVID. So when COVID happened, like many have been around long enough, we thought we saw the writing on the wall. Markets tanking. Oh God. So I cut all operational costs, right? No offices, salaries are gone. Everyone's full commission, et cetera. Right. And it ultimately worked out to my benefit, because if I started to look at my P&L, I'm like, man, I'm pretty operationally heavy here. And so I now do this national. My marketing strategies are cold calling and pay-per-click advertising on Google. So I get deals in Wisconsin and Florida and Indiana and Atlanta and everywhere, right? Where for the better part of 12 years, I was Phoenix. So that really helped me change my model. I adapted, I changed. Obviously, we know what happened. The real estate market exploded and just kept being hotter and better. But still, it allowed me to make that adaptation. And now I have a vertical that I can literally buy rentals in the best markets ever. Jack, you and I just talked about like Phoenix, like not the best rental market right now. Now, we just talked about how you can negotiate to a place that it becomes a good rental. But overall, just the prices don't equate to what the rents go to. And it's just not, there's better markets to own real estate.
Right.
And this virtual model now has allowed me to accumulate more rentals in better markets. So that has been a huge blessing. Now, to your point, what do I teach? What do I find to be the big thing right now? Marketing. You and I, Jack, we were just talking about working with realtors, making offers on the MLS. That is a marketing strategy. Okay. It's free. Take some time, but it is free. I love Google pay-per-click. I love cold calling. And here's what this business needs to be for everyone, including yours, right? You need to bring in all the leads possible, all of them. Because if you have them and you know how to sell and you know how the exit's going to be, whether you keep that land and develop on it, whether you wholesale it, whether you keep the land because you can do a lease to a farm company and they're going to lease, like there's exits. But if you don't have the leads, you're not going to win the game. So what I call this business now in real estate is you need to be an opportunity seeker. And I know in some circles that means like MLM and whatever. No. You need to find all the opportunities of people looking to sell so you can figure out how you exit it. So the name of this game, Jack's game, every game is marketing. And the more leads you get and the more offers you make, the more money you're going to make, right? So
marketing is more important than sales. Marketing is the lifeblood of the business. So
that's it.
It is everything, because you can have the prettiest, most beautiful, brick and mortar restaurant in the world. If nobody knows it exists, then you're going to go broke, right?
That's it.
And what is if a bunch of people come randomly in and they have the meal of their life, they're going to go spread the word. And what is that? Marketing. It's worth marketing. It's referral marketing. It's in a way affiliate marketing. They don't get paid for it, but it's referral marketing. That's marketing. Advertising is marketing. Pay-per-click is marketing. Like calling realtors is marketing. It's all is marketing. So yeah, I 100% agree. If you don't have the leads, you have nothing to analyze. As simple as that. Yeah.
There's two just for those starters who are like, I want to break in. Realtors is free. Co-wholesaling and working with other investors is free. 2 free models, right? Put 2 and 2 together as a wholesaler, find the buyer for someone else's deal. Free, make $3,000 to $5,000 every time, right? Realtors, call them, say you like their listing. You'd like to see if it's going to work as an investment for you. Make an offer. Might get rejected, might get accepted, but then you can sell it and wholesale it. I mean, it's just, I have a couple of clients right now that are rehabbers and they're like, man, I need more, right? Because the market relatively is still not easy to get deals. It's not like deals are everywhere, right?
Right.
And I've just been showing them how valuable realtors can be, right? They can really, listen, everyone wants to find a motivated seller. There's no more sign of a motivated seller than them putting it on the MLS. That is the highest motivation you can possibly get.
And in not every market, prices are plummeting. I mean, again, you used to live in Phoenix. I live in the Phoenix area. Prices in Phoenix are going down. They have been going down for now 6 months. So they're going down like 2% a month. And that might continue on for another year. But if it goes on for another year at 2% a month, that is 30% or something like that, 35%. 34%. Yeah, thanks. Your math is better than mine. In a year and a half. And that's a significant amount. But remember, prices went up by like as much as 45% in 1 year and probably more like 60, 70% over the 3-year period. So anyone that bought 3 years ago can sell at a 34% discount, or I mean, even if prices went down 34%, they can even drop that price even further if they have to move, if they have to sell that house. If it's at the current market just not selling, they have another 20-30% of equity in that house that they can drop if they really need to sell. Now, on the MLS, the realtor is not going to drop it to the bottom right away. They're going to list it at market and they're going to keep it there. But that doesn't mean that they're not willing to take a lower offer, because they're not losing money. They're only losing equity that they're still walking away. Potentially, they sell you that house for $400,000 when a year ago it was listed for $600,000, but they might have only bought it for $250,000.
Let me tell you this, Jack.
That house for $350,000, they still walk away with $100,000 at the end of the day, which is still money for them, and their problem is solved, and they can move now. They can move with their job or wherever they need to go. So that's what people forget. They're like, oh my God, no, prices are going down, the end of the world. No, it's only the end of the world if you bought this house 4 months ago and now you want to resell it, because now you're in the water. But most people bought it in the last several years, so they're still above water. They're still with equity on their deals.
Let me tell you, Jack, I got creative even as of yesterday because of the exact point you're bringing up. This couple bought a home a year ago. My student comes to me and says, hey, I think we have a creative finance deal here. Do you mind helping me structure it? And so I do that for my students. I'll help them create creative deals. I'm very good at it, right? So I talked to the wife and the husband. They have about $110,000 of equity, but they literally, as of next month, we'll call it April, not March, but April, they have no more money. They are done. They will start missing mortgage payments. They will lose their home. So they want to find a way to not lose the $110,000. So the first offer kind of comes in and hey, we can take over the payments and you don't have to lose your home, but you're done and you walk away. Well, what about all that equity? Well, so yesterday I'm like, well, why don't I make them a part of the deal? And what I mean by that is I'll start to look at them as the lenders of the deal.
Right.
They brought in $110,000 for the down payment because they only bought it a year ago. Right. They ride the wave with me in terms of whatever this market is. And then on the way back up and during my exit as the owner, I will give them a 50-50 split up to the equity they had on the down payment, which I believe is about $110,000. So all they have to do is just be patient. And essentially they're going to get all that money back, because to your point, there's still money there. It's going to come back, right?
Yes,
now they aren't in need, but the reality is the amount of money people have lost, but it's not lost. The last 3 years has been so artificially bloated, right? That is not normal economics. That if you lost 100,000 by selling it, it shouldn't have been that high anyways. Right? You wouldn't have bought it that high. So
yeah, and exactly right. And if everyone would have jumped it on the market, it would have lost immediate value anyway. So it's kind of like fake money sitting there that everyone thinks is real money, but it's not. It's only is if you can sell at that price, which you're right now you can't. So yeah, 100%. So cool, very cool. So tell us a little bit about your program that you do, and how do people find out more about that?
Yeah. So thank you for giving me that opportunity, by the way. The Science of Flipping is my brand. My program is for newbies and experienced investors. So I have two different sides. Obviously, the newbie versus experienced is just different stuff that you guys are going through, right? And so the easiest way is actually just follow me on Instagram. It's really me. I'm going to really talk to you, me personally, the Justin Colby. And what I like to do when people feature me on their podcast, I actually like to see the reach that happens. So what I encourage you to do is actually say, what's up? I heard you on Jack's podcast. I'd actually like to know how much reach these things get, because I'm always interested. Does anyone even hear this? Right. And so go to the Justin Colby. There are a lot of fake accounts, unfortunately, on Instagram. So as I'm recording this right now, I'm somewhere in the 90,000 followers. That would be the amount if you're looking at it. And that would really be me. and then justincolby.tv. justincolby.tv. That's the two best places to find me. And I would love to hear from you. Say, hey, what's up? I heard you on Jack's podcast. Love to see the reach we get.
Do you have any kind of final words for anyone that watching this, that is wanting to get into real estate, perhaps is concerned about the market conditions right now?
Yeah. Don't be. And the reason why I say that is it is always a good time to buy and sell real estate, right? You just need to find the leads, as we talked about earlier. Be a lead magnet, be an opportunity seeker, because you can wholesale it. Yeah. Don't be a one-trick pony, right? And if you can wholesale it, you can flip it, you can buy and hold it. I just had a student ask me, like, why are you buying and holding right now? Isn't this not a good time? It's always a good time to buy and hold. Every day of the year for the next 700 years will be a good day to buy and hold. It's just math. That's all it comes down to. Did you buy it at the right price? Right. And so now is the right time for you. But I would encourage this. Let me give you one last piece of advice here. Our life is short. If you're going to be spending time in this life, do what you want to be doing. Do what you want to do that you are committed to doing, because otherwise you could be spending time with your mother, your father, your children, the people that you love. So if you're going to be spending any time working, making money, do what you want to be doing. And if that's real estate, get involved. Be a part of Jack's program. Be a part of my program. Get going. Period. End of story. Because one day there's not going to be many days left and you're going to say, oh man, I worked at that job for 40 years and it sucked. Don't be that guy or gal. Like, life is short. It's time to get going and build a life that you guys want, you guys deserve. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Justin, for being on the call with us.
Right on, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. So with that said, guys, that concludes our episode of our podcast. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And then if you're listening to this on iTunes, make sure you give us a 5-star review and share with your friends so we can reach more people with more information about finance and real estate.